Israel is currently on the rampage in Gaza, and the Western media are overwhelmingly covering that up. Joe Biden facilitated the first wave of genocidal carnage, which largely wiped Gaza from the face of the earth. Now, under Donald Trump, Israel is liquidating the Gaza ghetto. This weekend, the IDF blew up the only cancer hospital in Gaza. The claim, of course, is that the Turkish cancer hospital was a Hamas compound. Now, this really does take every accusation is a confession to its most deranged level. You see, the IDF has been occupying this hospital and using it for military purposes for over a year. The Palestinian journalist Yunus Harari has previously shared photos of Israeli soldiers not just gathered there, but snipers stationed there. Now, Israeli soldiers have also posted videos of themselves enjoying massage equipment meant for cancer patients.
בבית החולים בעזה, בית החולים הטורקי בעזה, והחיילים באו לפנק אותי עם השז. אז איזה כיף, בבית החולים בעזה השאירו לנו מכשור לשחרר שרירים. תודה רבה לכם חבר'ה. דש לבן כספית מבית החולים הטורקי בעזה.
They've also posted footage of them jubilantly destroying medical equipment. Why did Israeli soldiers blow up this cancer hospital? Not because it was a Hamas compound. They blew it up because they are committing genocide. They want Palestinians to die. In this case, they know they have imposed a death sentence on many cancer patients. They don't care how Palestinians die, just as long as they die. Now, you would think our Western media outlets could state the facts about this particular hospital. After all, the facts are incontestable, that it was being used by the Israeli army, not by Hamas. Those Israeli claims to the contrary can be dismissed without any further interrogation. But where is this? This crime in the Western media is barely mentioned in most Western media outlets at all. This wasn't the only hospital attack this weekend. The Israeli army attacks the emergency ward of Nasser Hospital too, with no warning. It happened when a journalist was being interviewed by BBC Arabic.
This is the moment the hospital was hit whilst a journalist was giving an interview to BBC Arabic.
كان هناك استهداف نتج عن ذلك الآن غارة إسرائيلية كما ترى.
What was the justification for bombing this hospital, whose victims include Palestinian medics and a 17-year-old boy who was due to be discharged today after being treated, having been already injured in another attack? Now, they say their target was a Hamas official named Ismail Bahoum, who was killed in a strike. A few things here. Under international law, attacking hospitals is strictly forbidden for reasons which hardly need explanation. The only exception is if the hospital has abdicated its civilian purposes by becoming used for military purposes, for example, launching missiles. And then any attack needs to be proportionate to any military advantage gained, and advance warning needs to be given. In this case, this was a political official. He wasn't a Hamas military commander. And so he wasn't a military target. He wasn't using the hospital for military means. He was a patient. He'd been critically injured by a previous Israeli strike, and he was there being treated by doctors. I do not need to explain that he represented no military threat of any description. There was no legal justification. Forget morality for a second. No legal justification for attacking the hospital. Let's listen to what Feroz Sidwa, a US surgeon serving at Nasser Hospital, who survived the attack.
Benjamin Netanyahu has been ill recently. Well, he stands accused of genocide. Nobody thinks Hamas can bomb a hospital just because Benjamin Netanyahu happens to go there. That's crazy. This is completely insane. You don't bomb hospitals. Everybody knows that. It's part of this, the oldest part of international law. You know, the first Geneva Convention was signed in 1864, and that was the first creation of international law, at least in the West. And it's specifically about not obstructing the work of physicians and nurses. This is barbarity. This isn't how reasonable, civilized people behave. It doesn't matter what they were trying to do. You don't bomb a hospital no matter what. That's not how it works.
Well, indeed. I mean, imagine a hospital was attacked because a Likud member, not even Netanyahu, it's not the equivalent of Netanyahu. Imagine a Likud minister who had been already injured in a Hamas attack, was then You then had a Hamas missile target the part of the hospital he was in, killing several other people and also wrecking a significant part of the hospital so it can't treat patients anymore. That would be seen as an unspeakable crime. It would be seen as a monstrous crime. I mean, remember back in October 2023, when Al-Shifa Hospital, the main hospital, or it was in Gaza, when it was hit by a missile, there was a massive controversy about who was responsible. The reason there was a massive controversy was because it was universally understood that attacking hospitals was a heinous crime. Indeed, Mark Regev, at the beginning of the genocide, the then senior advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu, said the following.
Let me be clear, the IDF does not target hospitals.
Well, now Al-Shifa Hospital lies in ruins, and every hospital and medical facility in Gaza has been attacked, all repeatedly, with well over 1,000 Palestinian medics killed, and most hospitals and medical facilities rendered inoperable. As a United Nations inquiry found last October, Israel has perpetrated a concerted policy to destroy Gaza's healthcare system as part of a broader assault on Gaza, committing war crimes and the crime against humanity of extermination, with relentless and deliberate attacks on medical personnel and facilities. No evidence, no actual evidence, has been presented to justify claims that these hospitals were military bases of any description. What we've seen here is yet one plank, just one plank, another plank of the genocide. Because if you destroy the healthcare system, then you impose a death sentence on so many people. I mentioned cancer patients, but I mean people with heart conditions, people with respiratory problems, people with a whole range of illnesses, many pregnant women, newborn babies. You destroy a healthcare system, then that is a big step in the direction of a genocide. Of course it is. Let me say this bluntly and directly. In full view of the world, the West has normalized destroying hospitals, slaughtering medical staff, butchering children and babies by the thousand, deliberately starving an entire people, torture, rape, and endless other atrocities and examples of depravity. For the West right now, this is the sowing. The coming harvest will be bitter. Do you think we're going to get away with this? We're not going to get away with this. For a start, once normalized, this depravity spreads like a disease. It has, after all, become acceptable, not even provoking a raised eyebrow from Western political and media elites. And with the depravity of the West flaunted for the world to see, with so many on a daily basis, in every continent on the earth, witnessing the limitless barbarism being unleashed by the West, it would be desperately naive to think we will not suffer a hideous reckoning. It is necessary for me to keep referencing this quote, by the way. I'll do it again. If someone says it's raining and another person says it's dry, it's not your job to quote them both. Your job is to look out the fucking window and find out which is true. And this is a quote about journalism. Let's listen to BBC News with that in mind.
The head of the hospital accused Israel of violating all international and humanitarian law. He's acknowledged that a number of his medical staff were injured in the strikes, and we've seen those images of just a ward really blown out after the strike took place.
Okay, BBC, okay. The head of the hospital has accused Israel of violating international humanitarian law. Okay, you've made that clear. Is it true or false? It is objectively true. An objective journalist is not betraying their objectivity by stating the facts. There is no argument founded in actual law which says otherwise. So why does the BBC present this fact as a contestable opinion which is open to debate? Now, Israel is unleashing its barbarism across Gaza. This morning, Al Jazeera reports more than 25 Israeli strikes in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, killing at least 16 people. Meanwhile, Morgan McNogle, an Irish vascular surgeon volunteering with medical aid for Palestine in Nasser Hospital, says the average age of children pronounced dead after this week's wave of attacks was between 6 and 8 years old. Over a third of casualties were under 14. On Israeli television, they continue to broadcast their incessant genocidal intent. This is Colonel Gabi Siboni from the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security.
תקשיבי, חמאס זה לא הבעיה בעזה. חמאס הוא רק סימפטום של בעיה הרבה יותר גדולה. האוכלוסייה בעזה זה אספסוף ברברי. אז כשקשה לו, אז הוא אומר, אנחנו רוצים לחיות ומבלבל את המוח. וכשטוב לו, אז הוא קופץ מחלק בקלאוד, כשהחטופות שלנו שם והחטופים שלנו שם. אז זה לא מספר לנו סיפורים. הפתרון היחיד בעזה, אם אנחנו לא רוצים לדמם את החיילים שלנו לעשרות שנים, כי הם בעזה לא יהיה חמאס, יהיה חמאס ב' וחמאס ג'. הפתרון היחיד זה החזון של טראמפ.
Let's just repeat what he says there. Hamas is not the problem in Gaza. The population in Gaza is barbaric riff-raff. The only solution is Trump's vision. Describing an entire people as barbaric riff-raff is straightforward genocidal incitement. Describing anyone else as barbaric riff-raff when you support a genocidal onslaught being committed by your own state, which is blowing up hospitals, murdering medics, butchering countless thousands of children and babies, as well as so many other innocent civilians, deliberately starving an entire people. I could go on. As you advocate forcibly removing an entire people from their land. And you think you are in any position to describe anyone else as barbaric riffraff? It's the inability to see themselves for who they are. Those who support this genocide, whether they're in Israel or Britain or the United States or elsewhere, they are incapable of understanding who they are. I mean, you often, you think this, you look back at history, at all this great evil, you go, do they not realise? Do they not realise how twisted and sick and depraved they are? How can they not understand? I mean, history makes it clear, but you think, how can at the time they not look at themselves and go, oh my God, what have I become? Last week, one Israeli cheerleader tweeted the following. There are no civilians in Gaza. Hamas has drafted everyone down to the newest babies into the war effort, and they rejoice when the children they shove into the line of fire die because it's their most powerful weapon against those they hate more than life and blood. As another Twitter user perceptively responded to this, everyone who has ever committed, abetted or supported genocide thinks they've stumbled upon the exception to humanity, that they alone have found the people who aren't people, that those they kill are more dangerous than their killers. It is inherent to genocide to think like this. And that is exactly it. The genocidal mania possessing Israeli society is not, alas, unique. Look at our history. All genocides are justified by a view that this particular people poses an existential threat, that this particular people have collective guilt, that this particular people are the exception for which you must dull any remorse or empathy. This has proven a hideous lesson for all of us about how the great evils we are familiar with in our past were made possible, and it must be restated. If we do not succeed in establishing as an accepted fact that Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people is an intolerable crime, if we do not succeed in holding those who facilitated this genocide to account, then it's not just the ruin of the Palestinian people that will happen. We will have paved the way to hell for our species as a whole. Time is running out. Please like and subscribe, leave your thoughts and your comments. Help us challenge the pro-genocide mainstream media. Let's just call them what they are. Patreon.com/SomeJoe34. You can see us TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the rest. Expanding and reaching millions of people. Thanks to you. That's how we make this happen. So thank you. And listen to us on the podcast. Share the video, like, all the rest of it. Encourages lots of people to engage, which is what we want. I'll speak to you in a bit.